This program is brought to you by freekeen.com.
Tax protesters Ed and Elaine Brown are not the same person. They are sufficiently different, in fact, that I consider myself a supporter of one, but not the other. The story of Elaine Brown often takes back seat to that of her more vitriolic husband. But she is the one likely to spend the rest of her life in jail without having clearly committed any acts of aggression, without, to my knowledge, having issued any threats. Despite having to withdraw moral support from Ed in mid-2007, I never had to withdraw it from Elaine. On June 30th, her public defender did what many of us have not done enough. He focused on her rather than Ed. Speaking in his opening statement on June 30th, Bjorn Lang called Elaine Brown the, quote, loving and loyal wife of Ed Brown, unquote. He said, quote, this case is about why Elaine did some of the things she's charged with, unquote. He said Elaine held a belief in good faith that the tax system did not require her to pay income taxes. He said, quote, that belief was held in good faith based on years of research, unquote. But he said she felt she did not get a fair trial and that she was not allowed to present evidence of her beliefs at the first trial. Or at least that much of the evidence was rejected. He said, quote, they offered numerous submissions, unquote, which the court rejected. Lang even went so far as to say, quote, show me the law, unquote, although he was not saying it himself, he was more quoting Elaine. Lang mentioned the complexity of the tax code and said Brown felt she was convicted of charges she considered unlawful. He said that when she defied federal orders and returned to her home in 2007, she had no reason to believe there were firearms there and didn't bring any with her. He said, quote, she had sound objective reasons, unquote, for returning to her house. He said she didn't think she would get arrested there forcibly on the property as part of a peaceful tax protest, which this was at the time. Lang said Elaine began believing that the authorities wanted to use lethal force. Defense admitted she possessed a pistol, but said the possession was defensive. He said that she saw explosive devices of some kind around the house, but did not participate in getting or using them. Lang said Elaine had, quote, no good reason to believe she would be treated fairly, unquote. He said she sought the safety and security of home. Then, shortly thereafter, for the first time during Lang's testimony, the judge stopped him. Here's what triggered the censorship. Lang tried to say jurors should treat someone the way they'd want to be treated, and the judge interrupted him at that time. He said that was improper. Lang persisted with a different line of statement making. He said, quote, I ask that you put yourself in her shoes, unquote. The judge again interrupted him and told the jury to disregard that statement. And that's all I remember, all I have notes from regarding Lang's opening statement. As always, public defenders are not trusted well by the liberty or constitutionalist community because they do work for the government. It seemed to me that some of his admissions may have been unnecessary, but by and large it struck me as being a relatively competent defense, which may have been missing certain elements. The most important element it was missing, of course, is the element of jury nullification. Lang was not allowed to inform the jury that they have the right to judge the merits of the law, not just the facts of the case. If he'd been allowed to do so, I don't know if he would. I didn't get a chance to talk to Lang, but I did ask one of the other defense attorneys if I could interview him on camera, and he said no. He said it very tersely, and he said he was bound by a gag order, as were all the prosecutors. So I'm assuming Lang was probably bound by a gag order as well, wouldn't have been able to speak to me. Head U.S. Marshal Stephen Monier also declined to speak with me on the matter, although he has spoken with me in the past regarding some elements of the case. Coming up later, a summary of Ed Brown's defense attorney's statements and Ed Brown's situation in court. I did want to point out that Elaine Brown, since we're talking about her today, was wearing a black blouse, and but Brown was still clad in his jail outfit. I don't know why. It's Dave Ridley reporting out this quote-unquote Independence Day 2009. Oh, one more thing I should mention. In citing the Browns' reasons for being scared, he never mentioned the fact that the U.S. federal authorities have previously slaughtered people in similar situations, and that knowledge of this played into the Browns' thinking. I could be wrong, but it seemed like a significant omission.
This program is brought to you by freekeen.com. Freekeen.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. Freekeen.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. Freekeen.com.